Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to this week's Everton show. It's another busy week for the Toffees with the visit from Bournemouth on Saturday, coming hard on the heels of a well-earned draw at Stoke City on Wednesday night. Never an easy place to go to, and whenever we're in town it always seems to be cold, windy and wet. But we're nice and warm in the Everton show studio, myself, Ian Snodin, and I'm delighted to welcome our Director of Football, Steve Walsh. Welcome to the Everton show, Steve.
Thank you very much.
First of all, and briefly, recruitment, especially in January, it's got to be the right recruitment rather than a lot of recruitment.
Yeah, I think we did sensible business. As you say, I don't think anybody did a lot of business, but we did the right business. We got the right players in, and we got one or two players that we needed to get out for experience. Morgan Schneiderlin and Ademola look the part, don't they?
Certainly do. Thought they both played very well, especially Morgan. Middle of park, played very well.
We've got loads more to discuss with Steve and with Snods in this week's programme, and as always, we've got some great interviews to show you as well.
We defend well, and maybe in the last 10-15 minutes we had more chances to win the game, but overall I think it's a fair result.
You can see it, gave all the kids a little boost, smiles on the faces, and hopefully it's a day they can remember, and maybe give them a little bit of inspiration if they wanted to play football, to aspire to get to the top if they can.
Rome wasn't built in a day, the Everton manager is inclined to point out. The signings of Koeman and Schneiderlin bring the total number of players secured under Koeman's management to 8.
It's just the start, I want to give a lot more, I can give a lot more, and I will give when I'm getting a rhythm of the game and everything, and I'm sure we will accomplish some great things.
Well, Tuesday may not have been the night of frantic transfer activity that we're used to in the Premier League on deadline day, but Everton's January certainly was a good one, and here's why.
We want to give the fans a team to be proud of. That has been Ronald Koeman's mantra since the day he took charge of Everton. His steady, sure evolution of the squad, having already encompassed the seamless assimilation of players such as Adrissagana Gay, Ashley Williams, the youthful promise and emergence of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Tom Davies.
What a finish this could be! Davis, he's done it! That must be Tom Davis's goal, his first for the club, and what a wonder goal it was!
During the January window, the acquisitions of Ademola Koeman, the 19-year-old from Charlton.
To the penalty area for Lookman, what a debut this could be! What a debut it is!
And Morgan Schneiderlin from Manchester United.
Hello, it's Morgan Schneiderlin. I'm delighted to join Everton Football Club.
That's what we need, good players, but also players who really like to show the qualities in front of the fans of Everton.
Rome wasn't built in a day, the Everton manager is inclined to point out. The signings of Koeman and Schneiderlin bring the total number of players secured under Koeman's management to 8. And, further encouraged by the young talent emerging from the academy, the Dutchman is convinced that his squad is becoming stronger and more able to shoulder the aspirations harboured by all at the club.
He's a manager that is in place that I know that he can get the best out of me. I know already his style, how he likes to play football. And yeah, because I just want to play football. They have a very good project. I spoke with the manager and the people in place in Everton, and they have a good project for the future of this football club, and that's what I want. I want to get the best results possible and to have high expectations to get this football club where it belongs.
Everton have a big history, and also with the manager, what he's done with Southampton and what he does with young players as well, developing them, I think just attracted me.
Inevitably, along the way, there will be departures too. And deadline day, among other loan deals during the window, saw 2 players leave for Sunderland on permanent deals, Darren Gibson and Brian Oviedo. The Costa Rican, with the ready smile, showed the depth of his love for the Blues by returning to Finch Farm to say his goodbyes.
First, I want to say goodbye to everyone. It was a pleasure to play in this great club, and I want to say thank you very much for all the support.
There is opportunity and ambition at Everton too. A team taking shape in the mould of its manager. A club ready to take the next step. Further building to be done, but the form team in the Premier League is on the right path.
Steve, with the recruitment in January that you quite rightly described as sensible and the young players coming through, the Everton Football Club project, if I can call it that, is certainly on the right lines, isn't it?
Yes, I think we brought the right people in. Morgan Schneiderlin is a very experienced player, brings a lot of calmness to the team. His range of passing is excellent. He breaks up play. He's a perfect central midfield player and exactly what we needed. With Mola Lookman, we've got a real special talent on our hands. Watching him in training with Romelu, his finishing is up there, left and right. When he gets opportunities, he's going to score some goals for us.
You and I were in the commentary box at Stoke City on Wednesday night, and you were pairing over the performance of Morgan Schneiderlin.
I was. Didn't really know what to expect. I've not seen, obviously, that much of Morgan, but I know he was a quality player. I know the bosses worked with him at Southampton and wanted to pay 24 million for him if he wasn't. So, but I just thought he used a bit of class. He looked composed on the ball, never give a ball away, got a tackling. And I listened to the boss's interview after the game as well, and he says he can play the other side of the game, get forward as well when I need him to. So looks like we've got a complete midfield player in Morgan Schneiderlin.
Does he remind you of Gareth Barry a little bit?
Yeah, he does. Gareth's a fantastic player, been a fantastic professional, and still is, still needed at this club without a shadow of a doubt. But yeah, Morgan's a little bit younger, got a bit more energy, but yeah, same class of player.
When you're building a team, Steve, it's like putting together a jigsaw, and all the individual pieces have got to fit perfectly, haven't they? And you obviously had the confidence that Ademola and Morgan would fit perfectly.
Yeah, I think it's the balance of the team is probably the key. You need your young players who bring that enthusiasm and newness to it, and then you've got your experienced players who have been there before and achieved. And also you need players with different mentalities in terms of everybody's got to be key and be behind the project and to know what the way forward is, but they all bring their own special things to it, and finding out a little bit about a character helps. But at the end of the day, football is a team game, and you need all the different components to match up to do well.
It's interesting there that Steve refers to the right character, Snod. At Everton, we've got a record going back many, many years of getting the right characters. Players who you eventually say, he's an Everton player.
Yeah, it's not only that as well. When you're recruiting players like Steve will be doing, they'll go into what his personality is like, what he's like in a dressing room, and what he's like himself. And that's a big part for a player to go into a dressing room. You don't want nobody who's big time Charlie, who upsets the dressing room for a start. So they look into all that as well these days. So yeah, I think it's great. And getting a vibrant dressing room, you get a good team on the pitch.
When you first hear of a player, Steve, if someone's recommended or you spot somebody, do you enjoy finding out about them, digging a little bit deeper, learning a lot more about their character?
You can find out a lot about them when you're actually watching them on the pitch, as it's not about what you do when you've got the ball. A lot of the time it's what you do when you haven't got it. And if they're prepared to roll up the sleeves and actually put a shift in for the team, to get back into the team shape, to know their defensive responsibilities, as well as their attacking prowess, then you know that answers the first question. And then you obviously do your homework and you ring people who've worked with them before. And I'll speak to players who played with them before, especially if they're experienced players, and I trust their judgment. Then obviously I use that information as well to try and find out as much as I can.
And the reaction of the fans is important as well, isn't it? And our supporters have already taken to Ademola and Morgan.
Yeah, when you get off to a start like Ademola got off to, he scored after Man City, after coming on, he nearly scored with his first kick last night. So but what I like about him, he's confident. He came on and he dropped his shoulder on one and even sent me and you in the commentary box, Daz, one way. So no, I like him. He uses the ball well as well. And when he gets more confidence, gets in the team, want to see him in that final third hurting people, and I'm sure he'll be able to do that.
Do you enjoy watching the boy in training?
Yeah, fantastic. It's really good when you've signed a player to see them on the training ground, because you never really know until that actually happens, and then when they put the shirt on for the first time and then playing the team, then that's the icing on the cake.
Brilliant, isn't it? So far, so good. Right, we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we'll speak to Steve Walsh's brother Mickey, who of course played for Everton in the 1970s. Welcome back. Right, now for something a little bit different. Back in 1978, Everton signed a centre-forward from Blackpool called Mickey Walsh. His was a much sought-after signature at the time, but things didn't really work out for him at Goodison Park. He only made 28 appearances for the club before leaving, although that wasn't the end of his family's connection with the Toffees, because almost 40 years later, his brother Steve became our director of football. I caught up with Mickey recently to speak about his time at Everton and, of course, about his brother.
Yeah, he was an inspiration, really. Our father died when, well, I wasn't born, and Stephen was only about 9 months old, you know. Yeah, we were very, very close growing up, and he inspired me in many ways to become a football player, because that's all we did, really, play football. But he was the organiser, I was the player. I was a better player than him, and he was a better organiser.
It's interesting you say that, Mickey. Did you know from a young age he'd go on to do the type of thing he's done? Was he always studious?
Oh, definitely, absolutely, sir. He sort of had Sabutio leagues, and he was so organised. You know, wrote to the Charles Buchan Football Monthly and put teams in and organised us all the kids from the street. You know, and we did really, really well. And well, obviously he's got a talent for spotting a player. You know, and even players who have played, it's difficult sometimes to identify potential talent, and that's probably his main attribute. But his organisation skills and his dedication, it's incredible.
He said last month, Mickey, didn't he, that he wants to build a team that Everton can be proud of. What do you think your brother can achieve here at Everton? Well,
he's got to work closer with the people around him, you know, the board and Bill and obviously Ronald, because you don't achieve anything on your own. You need a team of people all working in the same direction to achieve good things, you know. I'm sure he'll try and bring all those things together, and hopefully along the way he'll spot a few gems and get Everton playing in the way that people like to see football played, you know, the ball on the ground, passing and moving and technically nice football, but also you've got to have a bit of steel and aggression. So I think he'll try and bring all those things into the club, you know.
Was he the better player as a young kid?
Well, he used to think so. He was only good because I was too busy kicking him.
I'm more worried about the Sabutio League. What is all that about, by the way, Steve?
You can see all the tactics. I think in the early days, Terry Venables used to use a Sabutio boy to actually do his tactics. Right. So I think it's just a carry on from that, I suppose.
You have to start somewhere, don't you? And Mickey there said that you inspired him to become a footballer and probably made him a better footballer. So he was probably your first ever recruit, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I was his first ever opponent. Obviously, we've all played the games with our family. You know, 3 goals in, centering and heading. You know, all the games
on the spot.
Yeah. All the games that kids play in those days, and it was always tough. They were tougher. When he turned pro, he used to come back and play with the lads in the street, and he found that more difficult than being a pro, I think, at times.
Did you always know he'd be a professional footballer? Did he show early signs that he had what it takes to make the grade?
Well, I'm not that much older than him, although he might try and think that I am. Yeah, I think you believe in your family, don't you? I think you just give them as much encouragement as you possibly can. And I was playing as well, and you'd be the same. And you're getting on with doing your bit, aren't you? And then he's getting on, and when you can go and watch them, you do, you know.
Of course, you've got a similar story with you and Glyn.
Yeah, Glyn was 3 years older than me, going on 4 years. And what I used to do, Daz, is he'd introduce me to play with his mates. So I'd be stepping up 2 or 3 years to play with his mates. And even if they kicked me, he just used to let them get on with it. He wouldn't stick up for me on the pitch. He'd let me defend for myself, which I think further down the line, years, That were a great thing, because he could have kept having a go at the lads for kicking me and stuff like that, for being a lot young, but he didn't. He thought, well, I'll let him grow up here on the back streets, on a football field and stuff like that. So yeah, I became a little bit tougher and want a little bit more. So but I would always that rivalry with Glyn as well. I wanted to be better than him, and I always say to this day, I were better than him. He has different say so, but no, it's great when you. And I used to get more nervous if I were out of the team for any reason, suspension or whatever, injured. I used to get more nervous watching Glyn than when I actually played myself. I really did, and it was surprising that.
Do you lament the fact that you no longer see kids playing football in the street or 25-a-side in the local park? It's a shame, isn't it?
100%. I think the actual pyramid for footballers has diminished somewhat. You know, I mean, if you were a non-league manager when I was growing up, and you could go in the Liverpool Sunday League and you could find yourself half a team, you know, and they would be better than the players that you got probably. So it was a remarkable place. Certainly Liverpool, growing up in those days, was a real hotbed of talent.
You used to coach school teams, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I was a PE teacher for years, and I took the county team. We used to play, Lancashire schoolboys used to play against Merseyside and Greater Manchester. So no three greater rivalries there, you know. With some great talents, you know, people like Franny Carr. You know, I think you'll remember France, who was a Blackburn boy at the time, went on to play for Forest and had a really wonderful career. He was one of the guys. David Unsworth, who obviously works now with me at Everton Football Club. He's another ex-county product. So there was a great rivalry, and it was real proper football in those days.
People and managers, always older managers, and I believe now that I think if you get a couple of Scots lads, a couple of Geordies, a couple of Scousers, a couple of Yorkshire lads, you've got half a team, or you did in them days before the foreign lads came, you've got half a team there from working class backgrounds that could give a little bit, that wanted, and they've been brought up on playing in the streets, playing on. I got to my mum and dad's who are fortunately still alive, still looking great. In Rotherham, the school field, exactly where they live, the school field I'll pass to go to their house. And that used to, when I was growing up, was packed. You couldn't there were about 8 pitches, everyone was. I drive past there now to go on a Sunday for my dinner or something like that. There's not a soul on there. Not a soul playing football.
There's too many distractions, isn't there?
There is, unfortunately.
I think there's a lot of 40 and 50-year-olds still playing league in the leagues now.
Absolutely.
You know, it should be filled by the younger players, but they're not coming through, unfortunately.
Tell us, Steve, about your time at Chester and Bury.
Harry McNally.
Oh, no, that is a
Chester City, and Graham Barrow, good pal of mine, who's assistant manager at Wigan. Yeah, they were good times as well. It's all part of your development, isn't it? You know, growing up, trying to get players on a shoestring, looking after the reserves, playing in the reserves, putting the nets up, washing the kit, driving the minibus. You know, that's part of your inheritance. It's part of the process of who you become in the future.
I love hearing about characters like that, Stas, do you?
Graham Barrow, I've got a story. I was 17-year-old playing against him, and I hit him off the ball at a corner. There were no cameras there or anything, and he was just irritating me, picking on me. I was 17-year-old, and I hit him full on, Daz, off the ball, and he never flinched. He never moved a muscle, and just repeated to me, "You're dead, son." Oh my God, I swear he's one of the hardest fellas I've ever played against on a football field. But I tell you what a great fella he is as well, Steve, isn't he?
And Craig Shakespeare, I work very closely with Leicester, says exactly the same. He used to hide from Graham, but he's a lovely man.
He is.
The mention of Leicester there, we have to mention what happened last season when you built and recruited the Leicester City side that won the Premier League title. How did you do that? Is it possible to answer that?
I think, well, not in the short time we've got, but I think the main thing is belief. I think those players that we put together believe that they could do it, and everybody in the world thought that they're going to crack up. And I go back to the time when we were beaten by Arsenal in the 94th minute. I think Welbeck came on and scored. And after that, everybody, well, that's it now. Leicester will completely cave in. And then Arsenal, I don't think they won a game in the next 6, and we won all 6. So that was kind of the answer to the question. And beating Manchester City away was the icing on the cake, which, and the rest, as they say.
Steve, when did you become aware of Vardy? Because I was doing non-league football, I was commentating on it, and I seen him at Fleetwood, and I said to my brother and Simon Grayson, there's a kid at Fleetwood here that's raw, he's energetic, he's nasty, but most of all, he can score goals. So I seen him at Fleetwood in the early days. Was it there that he took your eye at Fleetwood?
No, we had him tracked when he was playing at Stocksbridge Steels, and then he went to Halifax.
That's right.
So we monitored him all the way through, and then obviously we went to Fleetwood. By that time, the price was going up and up and up, and we were wondering if we should be paying this sort of money, and we ended up paying $1 million for him. But now it was probably money well spent.
Fantastic story, it really is. It's time for another breather now, and in part 3 we'll focus on our in-form under-23s when we hear from Matthew Pennington, and we bring you the highlights from an excellent victory away to Manchester United. Welcome back to part 3 of this week's show. Now, Everton under-23s are sitting pretty at the top of Premier League 2 just now, a lofty perch that was strengthened with a win at Manchester United on Monday. One of the stars of the show that night was defender Matthew Pennington, who is not your average young footballer. David Unsworth has created an excellent dressing room full of great characters and great lads, but Matty Pennington is most definitely the brains of the outfit.
Going back to school recently was a reminder for Matthew Pennington of just how far he's come. The young defender and teammate Mason Holgate visited St Anne Stanley Primary School in Old Swan as part of the Everton School Supporters Club initiative. Answering questions and helping pupils build towers from spaghetti and marshmallows was the order of the day for Pennington, who himself achieved 10 A-star grades in his GCSEs and had plans for a career in medicine had football not worked out.
That was an idea I had, but it was always going to be football that I wanted to pursue first, and I'm grateful and lucky to be able to carry on with that. Yeah, I've always enjoyed school. Looking back now, it's some of the best days of your life with your friends every day, and it's a great time.
One motivation for Pennington was sibling rivalry. Matthew's twin sister Rachel had her own aspirations of becoming a doctor and continued on the path that her brother may have taken, but for being handed a first professional contract at 17.
It was a healthy rivalry, I'd say. It was more competitive. We both wanted to do well in everything, so we'd both try and we'd help each other out as well. So it was just a nice, healthy competition, really, and it helped us to both do well in the end, so I'm grateful for it, really. She's studying medicine now in Edinburgh, so she's doing really well and proud of her.
Football may have come calling, but Pennington wasn't yet ready to turn his back on his studies. He and his family approached Everton's then head of education, Mike Dickinson, and together they came up with a plan that would allow Matthew to continue his training with the academy while studying for A-levels in maths and chemistry. It proved worthwhile, as 2 A-grade qualifications followed.
There wasn't really a scheme in place to do A-levels, so Mike Dickinson and me and my family got together and we wanted to go to Carmel College and study A-levels. So they did really well, and Mike helped us out brilliantly, and so did the college, to organise a scheme where we could do football and a couple of A-levels. So it worked really well, and the relationship between the college and Everton is still going. A lot of the lads go now, 16 to 18, so it's a relationship that worked really well, and hopefully it can continue to do so. I just wanted to get something in my back pocket in case football didn't work out. Wasn't always certain that I was going to be a player. I just had to keep working hard for it and hope that it came, and luckily I'm still playing football now.
Understanding the importance of a good education, Pennington was more than happy to visit the children of St Anne Stanley and explain to them how you can achieve your dreams if you're willing to work hard.
In my school we never had anything like that. You can see it gave all the kids a little boost, smiles on their faces, and hopefully it's a day they can remember, and maybe give them a little bit of inspiration if they wanted to play football, to aspire to get to the top if they can.
And as for his twin sister, what does she make of what they have both gone on to achieve since those early days of battling for grades?
Yeah, I'd like to think she's proud of me as well. No, we've got a good relationship. We get on really well, so that's a bonus, and just hope both of us do well.
A happy day in Old Swan. Now Pennington will be hoping to carry on his own learning at the School of Science.
Snods, we all know that Matty Pennington's a lovely lad. That piece of film confirmed it, but he's also a very good footballer.
Yeah, he is. Very grounded lad, well educated, speaks really well in front of the camera, which is important as well. But most of all, we like to see him what he does on the football field, and you rightly said, he's a very, very good football player. He's been out for most of the season. He's only come back recently, and I watched an under-23 game at Goodison against Reading Daz. He played for 70 minutes, and it looked as though he'd not missed a game, to be honest. He just strolled through the game, and he looks a very, very good player now, hopefully a Blue for many years to come.
You must have to work very closely with Dave Unsworth down at USM Finch Farm, Steve.
Yes, obviously I've known David for years. I coached him when he was a younger player, and he speaks very, very highly of Matthew. You know, leadership qualities are key, and there's certainly a dearth of those type of players in the modern game.
What was he like, Unsy, as a kid?
He was bigger than all the rest. Big and strong, great left peg. All the things that you could say about him as a professional, he was that good at that age, and obviously he was a step above the average footballer, and with a fantastic attitude.
Another great lad. You can see why the under-23s are so grounded.
Yeah, he's always been a good lad in the dressing room when he was a young kid, growing up, and he's still got that sense of humour around the place now. Comes in for his meals, quite often looking at the size of him now, Unsy. But no, the under-23 lads as well respect ex-players that are up there. They respect everybody. The chefs who cook the dinner, which is right as well. They should do, and I think they've got a great spirit there. They're not afraid to say good morning to everybody, and I think that's fantastic what Unsy's got going there.
Yeah, he's a proper football person,
yeah,
and I think he'll go on to do big things.
He is a proper football man, another great guy. It's time for some under-23 action now as well. Their latest victory came at Lee Sports Village on Monday night against Manchester United. Now, United away is always a tough test, but this was one that Everton passed with distinction.
Everton under-23s went 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League 2 table with a 3-1 victory over Manchester United on Monday night. A back-and-forth contest saw no less than 4 penalties awarded, the first for this tackle on debutant Anton Donkor. The winger on loan from Wolfsburg was clipped right in the corner of the box, but Liam Walsh's effort was repelled by United keeper Joel Pereira. Everton had edged the first half though, and deservedly went in front a minute before the break through Courtney Duffus. The big striker collected Walsh's clever pass and kept his composure to slot the ball home. The game's second penalty arrived after half-time, and this time it went to the home side. Matthew Pennington was adjudged to have brought down Matt Olasunde, but United's Josh Harrop blasted the penalty way over the bar. Soon they were back on level terms though. After Dimitri Mitchell had been tugged back by John Joe Kenny, the left-back picked himself up and confidently dispatched his spot kick to make it 1-1. John Ebble was in charge of the Young Blues, and his decision to introduce striker Basala Sambu from the bench on 67 minutes proved a key one. Inside 120 seconds he had put the Blues back in front after collecting Donkor's pass and turning expertly to create space for the finish. Sambu then wrapped up victory from the spot as he converted the game's 4th penalty after he himself was fouled. The ex-Coventry man shrugged off mind games from the United keeper to score in nonchalant fashion. With Manchester City drawing with Leicester, the Toffees now sit 6 points clear with 7 Premier League 2 games left.
The ball came into me, I just took a good touch, and then I thought just to roll in behind him, so I tried to backheel it, went in behind, just lucky to get a touch on it. Yeah, just finished it with my left foot.
And the penalty is the most nonchalant thing I think I've ever seen on a football pitch.
Yeah, I've been doing that for penalty for a while now. Like, been doing it like last season at my former club Coventry. Yeah, just confidence. I like to just take my time with my penalties, wait till the keeper moves, and then, you know, wherever he goes, I'll go the opposite way.
Was that straight from the Ian Snodin book of penalty kicks?
It certainly was not, Daz, I'll tell you that. I just used to close my eyes and hope for the best, and I'm sure Sharpie will tell you the last penalty I ever took for Everton was against Everton versus Rangers in Dubai. Chris Wood saved it, so I've never took another penalty again.
Probably for the best, but the under-23s are doing smashing at the moment, Steve. And Ronald Koeman recently said that since he came to the English game, he's been so impressed with the quality of young footballers, but he said they need a stage to perform on.
I think the level of the under-23s this year, with the changing of the age group, they brought it up 2 years, and also the fact that you can only loan players now from window to window, it's actually made the league more competitive. And instead of tippy-tappy stuff that we maybe used to see before, now we're actually seeing a proper football match. Certainly the game against Manchester United, there was no quarter given and none taken, and it was a real scrap. And I think they need that experience. Obviously, you've got to marry that up with the development of players by making sure they get good loan spells with the right clubs to enhance that experience, so hopefully they can come back and perform in the biggest stage.
It's interesting Steve says that, because we've said time and time again, when it was the under-21s, it needed looking at, Snods.
I'm glad Steve used the words then, a proper football match, because I've been to watch a lot of under-23s or under-21 games in the last couple of years, and people say, that's not proper football. But Steve has just said it was a proper football. That's what you've got to watch football. A young kids getting stuck in, giving no quarter, both teams at it. And I'm sure there's a lot of players at this level can go out on loan, can get that experience, are good enough. And we're proving that with the amount of players that clubs are coming to Everton for and thinking, well, they play it the proper way. I watch them every week in the 23s and they play football how it should be played. Yeah, they'll fit in our team in Division 2, Division 1, Championship football. So I think it's great. I think we're on the right tracks as a club.
It's important for you to watch as many games and as many training sessions as possible, I would think, Steve.
Yeah, probably watch football in my sleep. I try to get out and watch training as much as I can. It's not always possible. But you see them develop in that environment as well as watching games for ourselves and for other clubs.
There are worse ways, I suppose, to spend your day than watching football. Well, plenty more to come from Steve and Snods in part 4 of this week's show, and we'll be looking back at our midweek draw at Stoke City and looking ahead to Bournemouth at Goodison Park on Saturday. Don't go away. Welcome back to the 4th and final segment of this week's show. Now, Everton are just about the form team in the Premier League at the moment, and the share of the spoils at the Bet365 Stadium extended the current unbeaten run to 6 matches, with Bournemouth to come to Goodison Park on Saturday afternoon.
We did not create a lot of good chances, but we had, yes, that domination in the game. And you know, it's always difficult here. It's windy, the long direct ball to crowd, second balls, but we defend well. And maybe in the last 10-15 minutes, we had more chances to win the game. But overall, I think it's a fair result.
It's sort of becoming a bit of a cliche for people when they come here, but it is, the wind is swirling round, and you know the lads done well to deal with it, and Joel made a couple of good saves, and their keeper made a couple of good saves as well, and I think, you know, point was probably fair.
For me personally, I feel good and very happy and very proud, you know, to wear the shirt and to start for the first time. And after, it was at the end of the day, it's a good point, you know, because playing away at Stoke is never easy for any team. And with the condition and everything, it's a good point, and it will be a great point if we win on Saturday. It's just the start, you know. I want to give a lot more. I can give a lot more, and I will give when I'm getting a rhythm of the game and everything. And I'm sure we will accomplish some great things.
It's really that type of midfielder, what the team needs, and he can play in different positions on the midfield. And but he's that type of player that is really comfortable on the ball. He's fast. He's clever in his ball position, and we know it's a big signing, and that kind of signings make the team stronger.
They changed their shape a little bit, caused us a couple of problems from what we probably would have expected from them. We changed ours in the second half, and sort of, you know, it was a bit cat and mouse like that, really, tactically trying to find the right balance. As I say, it's always a difficult place to come. So, you know, after going behind, you know, it's not a bad point.
And we know Bournemouth is a strong team. They did not have a good result yesterday, but they are really a good team, offensively, good football, and I think we had a good experience when we play away against them, and we need to take a little bit revenge about that result.
I can't wait, you know, it was a great atmosphere. We just played once against City and it was great. It was a beautiful result and the atmosphere was amazing. So hopefully we can replicate that on Saturday and get the 3 points, which is very important to get eye on the table.
Snods, as I mentioned, 6 games unbeaten in the Premier League. Momentum is so important, isn't it?
It really is, because when you go out on that pitch and you beat Man City, you beat Crystal Palace away from home, you're playing Stoke, which is going to be a difficult game at their place. But the lads will have been confident before they went out and think, yeah, we'll probably win this. And that's a great thing to have in the dressing room, going out there and thinking, we ain't going to get beat. We're playing well enough amongst ourselves. We've got the confidence. We ain't going to get beat today. And the team that I joined in '87, they had that feeling every week that they weren't going to get beat. And it's a great thing to have.
Great time to gather momentum as well, Steve, as you know only too well, beginning of February.
Yeah, I think winning becomes a habit, doesn't it? A good habit, and let's hope we can continue with it.
Beating Manchester City 4-0 gave Everton such belief, and when I look back to last year, in fact, we were at Stoke City, ironically, watching Leicester beat Manchester City, and that seemed to give Leicester City the belief to say, we can go on and win this.
And hope let's hope it's a catalyst for us having a good second half of the season, and it'd be nice to try and erode the gap between ourselves and Man United and get us into that top 6. That would be an ideal scenario.
It's a gap we can close, isn't it?
More than possible. Yeah. I think we're at the moment we look strong. If you look at our central midfield, we've got 6 players who can play in there. We're all very, very good, talented individuals, and I think as a team we're going forward.
The expectations there now, Snods, from the fans, isn't it? But patience may well be a key word on Saturday against Bournemouth.
Yeah, perhaps it might be, but I think the shape of the team and the way that the manager wants to play, you're starting to see that on the pitch now. We really are, and as Steve said, we've got 6 players fighting for literally 2 to 3 places in midfield, and 6 quality midfield players, by the way, as well. So yeah, the team's taking shape, but come Bournemouth, we need to energise the crowd early doors. We need to produce something. We need to get crosses in or have shots on goal to get our crowd early doors off the seats. And if we do that, we'll go and win the game. They're a effervescent team. They buzz around, but I think we've got better quality than they have.
It's another game to look forward to at Goodison Park at the weekend. Now, you may recall that when we went to Stoke City last season, Ronald Koeman celebrated the birth of his baby daughter with a goal. He was also very much involved in our equaliser on Wednesday night. But was it his goal? What do you think he said?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've cut inside and I've had a shot, just trying to get it on target with my left foot, and from my angle it looks like it's going towards the bottom corner. Whether the keeper saves it or not is another thing, but the rules are if it's going on target it's a goal, and I know the camera angle isn't the best, but 100% claiming that one.
The message from everyone at Everton today to the Premier League is it's another goal for you this season.
Yeah, without doubt, my goal, 5th of the season, thank God.
Steve, £60,000 from Sligo for Ronald Koeman, an absolute golden nugget. There must be more out there.
You've got to find them, and hopefully we've got our network of people all over the place, all over the world, looking at players, looking at talent, and trying to get the best we can, best value for money for Everton Football Club. Seamus was certainly, as you say, a nugget that came to the club, and that's part of half of the joy of the job, is to bring players of that sort of value. You know, if you can buy, everybody likes a bargain. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, you like a bargain. Like to buy cheap and sell dear. You know, and we're no different.
Steve, it must be totally different though now from when you first started scouting. Like when I was growing up as a young kid, they'd send probably a scout to go and watch you, but then it'd go to the manager straight away. So the chief scout would watch you, and then the manager who were hoping to come and buy you would. But now, with all the foreign players coming out, the network must be vast.
Yeah, I think the modern day football manager has to manage the team and the situation at the club, and it's very difficult for them to. Yes, they've got a knowledge of players. Yes, they watch a lot of games as much as they can on TV, and obviously the opposition when we're playing them. But it's impossible for them to know everything. And I think modern day recruitment is a collaboration between the manager and the recruitment staff of the clubs, and it's trust. You know, it's about being together. Before when I came to the club, the first thing I asked Ronald is, "How do you want to play?" And we got the board out and we had a look at the formations and the type of players that he likes, because unless I knew the blueprint for what sort of players that Ronald wants, then we'd all be wasting our time. Fortunately, we came together on that, and it's worked very well. But there has to be that understanding between the two of us.
At what point will you say to Ronald, "I think I've got one here"?
When I find one. Yeah, that's pretty much how it will happen. We know which areas of the team at any one time needs to be strengthened, and obviously we look at players in that area and we say, well, these are a few. Let's have a look at them, and we'll sit there and we'll have a look at some footage and if it's possible, then Ronald, I'm sure, is quite open to going out and watching that player live. But it's so time consuming these days. We have so many games over a short space of time. It's difficult for them to do everything.
Steve, is your job predominantly first team? Or if you could recruit somebody from 19 to 22 for unsies, 23s, have we got somebody else for that? Or is yours just first team?
We've appointed Jamie Hoyland as our under-21 head of recruitment.
Good lad, Jamie.
And also I've got Tony Grant and Damien Matthew in to help him. So I'm saying to those three, you bring me 4 or 5 players that I can invest in, let's have a look at it. And Anton Donker fell into that category. They came back to me and said, we'd like to do something with Anton Donker. And so we put a package together and we brought him on loan from Wolfsburg with a caveat that says we can buy him in the summer at a certain price, should we so wish. So we brought him to develop him, and hopefully he will get an opportunity to train with the first team. And if he's good enough, then just like Eddie Mola, he may well get his opportunity.
Just finally and briefly, Steve, you won the Premier League with Leicester City, had the chance to go and operate in the Champions League with Leicester City. Why come to Everton?
A challenge, a massive club, a proper football club, and one that I'm proud to be a member of, and hopefully we'll be able to duplicate that success in the future.
A proper football club, we love that, don't we? No better phrase than that. And that's just about it for this week's programme. It's been a pleasure to have Steve Walsh on the show this week, and of course it's always a pleasure to be in the company of Ian Snodin most of the time. We've enjoyed having you along as well. Thanks very much for watching this week's Everton show. We'll see you next week.